Synchronicity in, is this a new one? Yeah? Synchronicity in Vilnius, number 2. Has anyone been to Lithuania, by the way?
No, I've got some amber on though.
I'm eating biscuits as well.
Yeah, that's the main thing, amber.
At your house.
Oh yeah.
I had chosen the traditional 4-star Shakespeare hotel to stay in Vilnius, Old Town, because of its literary connections. Each room had been given the name and decor of a famous literary figure from Shakespeare to Victor Hugo, from Aristotle to Byron. The atmosphere was cozy, comfortable, and home from home. In a word, gemütlich. I reckoned that interesting cultural individuals would choose to stay at this non-corporate hotel. I was proved right, and met them I did over my 2-week stay. The first synchronistic happening was that I was offered the Thomas Hardy bedroom. I had lived at 10 Hanover Crescent, Brighton, where the original owner, the publisher Horace Smith, had literary guests to visit, including Charles Dickens and Thomas Hardy. The following morning there was no room in the official breakfast lounge, so I had to be seated in the beautiful adjoining Green Library restaurant. I passed an older American lady talking to a 40-ish man in English, but he didn't say the customary good morning as I moved into the back of the room. Next day, 3 synchronistic events took place. Ginteris drove me to Traki, a destination with a castle and lakes, about an hour and a half from Vilnius. He went to park the car while I waited for him in a cafe overlooking the castle by the bridge, where teams of tourists walked past. I waited patiently, and then a seemingly ordinary American middle-aged couple walked in. I work on the principle that all Americans visiting Lithuania are searching for their heritage. I was never wrong. The woman looked at me and, delighted, said that she had noticed me at the concert in the church the evening before, as I was wearing my signature turban. That was serendipity. Next, they were from Nashville, Tennessee, home to music. Next, the man wearing a typical baseball cap, Bob, was a songwriter, musician, and owned a record label, Mr. Big in the industry, a useful link for Ginteris, who wanted to go global and expand to America. But the icing on the cake came from his wife. Christine Oral loved my Jilliana style of dressing and told me their close friend Lena, I can't pronounce her name, Lithuanian-born, had been the film director for the advanced style documentary film by Ari Seth Cohen, someone I want to be photographed by for his latest book. Christine promised to talk to Lena about my style and gave me her email and phone number in Nashville. More synchronicity was to happen that evening. We went with Ginteris's friend Audra to a restaurant by the riverside in Uzipus, the unique republic in Vilnius. And who was at the next table? It was the American lady from breakfast called Lima Hood, with her stepson John, having dinner with a woman dressed in orange. Irina, who not only knew Audra, but like me, worked on the local radio, and guessed where she will be spending her summer holidays? Brighton, in August, where she knows theatrical Lithuanians. As for the charming Lima, I discovered in my interview with her the following morning that she organizes the Summer Washington Square Music Festival in New York. Too much for one day. I suggested that Ginteris, who wants to work with me on classical music programs, should get a big name like Gideon Kramer to host one of his concerts. He agreed, but how to find such a world-famous musician? The universe sent Audra's close friend into my life, Alexandra. The next night, Alexandra invited an elderly Litvak from New York called Shmuel to join us for dinner at the delightful Deco restaurant. And who is Shmuel? Not only did he own an art collection called Sutina and his friends in New York, but also I saw on YouTube he hosts classical music concerts at his home. But wait for it, he treats classical musicians with his body tuning techniques in his medical practice, and amongst many distinguished patients, including the late Isaac Stern, is none other than the man himself, Gideon Kramer. Perhaps the universe has answered my wish to work with Ginterus and his Cultural Arts Libera International Company after all. Viva Lithuania. Epilogue. In August, when Irina arrived to stay with Dalia in Brighton, also from Lithuania, it transpired Dalia's daughter was a musician at the Juilliard in New York and had spoken to Shmuel on the phone. The snowball is still circulating Brighton, Vilnius to New York. Where will it end? Now that was written on the aeroplane on the 29th of June 2017. However, I got invited to the Kerouac Literary Festival, which is happening shortly in Lowell. I've never heard of Lowell, and most people haven't. But however, Jack Kerouac came from Lowell. So every year they have a festival, and all the old beat poets, if any of them are still alive, they decamp and go to Lowell. So my friend, who I met in Colombia, she's Greek, and she happens to be a poet, she invited me. So, okay, someone invites me to an interesting place and they're a lovely, lovely person, I'll go. So I agreed, and she said, well, come for Thanksgiving. And I said, well, hang on, that's 2 months away. She said, I know. Oh, well, 2 months. So I thought, well, I can't stay in Lowell for 2 months. I'll go to New York. So I thought, well, I used to work in New York when I was in the antique trade, but I don't know anyone to do with spoken word. I don't know any poets, at least not yet. I just have a few, no close friends, but I have a few old colleagues, if they're still alive. Some of them have died. And then I thought, why don't I give my own salon? Shmuel. He's got paintings on the wall, he gives musical salons. Why not a spoken word salon? So I wrote to him. And he replied, I gave him 2 dates, 26th and 27th October. And he wrote back and he said, yeah, 27th. What I didn't know was that the 27th of October is Paganini's birthday. And apparently every year he gives a musical salon. So it's all happening. I'm going to be doing the spoken word. He's inviting musicians, I don't know who, whether they're famous or infamous or whatever, but it's all happening on the 27th. And I've also been invited on the 28th to give a talk in a library about aging, surviving 50. So no idea what I'm going to talk about, but it'll be interesting. So I'm now gone. No, there's no salon in November, and I'm back on the 1st of December. And the Christmas salon is the 10th. So hope to see you, and thank you very much for coming. Hope you enjoy the evening.